Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Commanding the Market. I am your host, Nathan Hale, and I am joined with my co-host here, Trent Richardson.
Hey, how's it going, Hale? How's the last week been for you?
A pretty good week, actually. Pretty good. I've noticed an interesting thing. Unfortunately, I think you found out as well just a few minutes ago, in fact. Yep, there is an errata on a card that we were both very excited about. And there was an errata on the Judge foil promo that came out of Overwhelming Forces.
Yeah, and just to prove that I actually bought mine, there it is. It came in the mail yesterday.
Yeah, mine's in the other room. I should have grabbed it. But very, very nice condition on it. The downside is, of course, the errata, as you can see on the screen now on the Judge promo, means that it only targets a single opponent. So it is not as one-sided total board wipe as we thought. I still think it's a good card. It's just not quite as slot everywhere, but I still think it should see more play than it is with 100 or 200 decks in EDH, because it still can blow out whoever's king of the table and leave you with all the cards in hand.
King of the castle, king of the castle. Yeah. Oh man, I feel bad for mostly me, but also you and not so much Jeff. He got the Judge promo foil for 17, which is still a good price on the card, I think. And Will, sorry, bud. Honestly though, guys, Will, Hell, and I buying the card, we've actually moved the market price up to $50 at this point.
Yep. Which was the other thing, the silver lining I was going to note there is even still, the needle has moved. So while it is not as good a all-around black removal or board wipe for EDH, it is still, as far as Infestables go, we tick that needle up. And what was that, about $14 it's moved up since last week. So still not too shabby. I've noticed there has not been any more added to. I think there's only 9 copies left, 9 or 10.
9 copies left since last week. I think before you bought yours, there was 13 left.
Yeah, I believe that's where we were. So as far as the investment side, still seems solid. As far as all around playable in EDH, not as much so, although I'm still going to enjoy playing mine because I still think it can be pretty nasty and it can just knock that king right off the hill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially somebody playing like a tokens deck. You got Atraxa coming out. That's going to be a big thing. So you know
what this card might pair well with now that I think about it.
What's
Cadaverous Bloom.
Yeah,
the other one we mentioned last week. You blow out. You draw. I can't believe we didn't think of it then. You draw all these cards, and now you can drop all those cards for mana. Yeah, that's not too shabby actually.
Yeah, not too bad.
I'm going to have to definitely put the two in a deck together and see how they play.
Yeah, it could work well. I still think it's a good card, even with the errata. I mean, people can decide in their own play groups. I still don't understand the errata. The errata doesn't make a lot of sense.
The only thing I can figure, it was, I guess, around 2013 when the price started to drop. That's when they made the errata with that. I guess the Judge foil came out then. I haven't checked the exact on that. That's just my speculation. But I'm guessing when they did that because they thought for Commander it was just too powerful. Because it honestly would have made Decree of Pain obsolete.
For sure. But either way, still very, very investable. There's only, like I said, 9 on TCG Player. 1 here locally at one game shop. So there's not very many out there. I don't know, now that I know about the errata, I don't know if that's a function of just people quit buying it, so people pulled it off of their cells, or there's just really that little out there. So hopefully it is just very, very little out there in the market, and we'll see some tick ups on this, and we won't lose our shorts. We won't make the major gains we thought we were going to, but we're not going to lose horribly, I don't think.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do want to note that we're going to be talking about today, because everybody I'm sure is excited about it. We're recording this before release, but by the time you see it, it will have dropped, and that is Double Masters. And we're doubly excited about it. There's a lot of good cards in here, and there's a lot of good specs. And there's a lot of cards that people might go into thinking they're good specs and get burned on it. And we're going to kind of talk about some of these cards today. The ones we think have a good chance of, despite the fact they're being reprinted, of being a good investment because of their play in EDH and their demand in EDH. So start with some commons, you think?
I think we should start with some commons, some double your enjoyment commons, with the double M. So first up, we've got, there's
primarily
only
just the one as far as we're concerned. We'll talk about a couple others, though. Expedition Map
is played in 6% of all decks that can play it.
That's 26,000 decks currently.
I mean, that's really underplayed, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a card that is, regardless of what color you're in, it can fetch you whatever land you need in your deck. And I mean whatever land. We're not just talking getting a basic. We're talking getting Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, Gaia's Cradle, the combo with Urborg, Cabal Coffers. It can get you your Dark Depths or your Thespian Stage.
Sarah Sanctum. I mean, anything.
Yeah, all of these incredible cards. I mean, maybe you're in mono red and you want to go grab Valakut. I mean, there's so many good options for you, and at a single colorless mana and then 2 to activate it, this can even be used just to fix you or keep from missing a landfall for a fairly cheap amount of mana. And being a artifact, it's really easy to recur this and repeat. And say you've got multiple lands like the Dark Depths, Vesuva, or something that you want to grab and play both for your combo in your deck. That finds the other piece, or if you can recur it, finds both the pieces. Just so good. This card this is only its 3rd printing, and that was the original Zendikar and Modern Masters 20s, the second one, 2015.
Right.
So,
and even after the second printing in Modern Masters, it did take a little dip after that. But I mean, it's been on a steady incline. I think most of that is from the prominence of Modern's Tron. But
Tron plays the heck out of it.
Even so, as a commander card, 6% sounds like a low number, but when we're talking 26,000 decks,
that's of all decks, because it's an artifact. It can go in every single deck.
It can go in every single deck. So 6% of every deck is actually, when you compare it to other cards that are of a single or 2 or 3 color, we're talking that's more, probably closer to like 20-30% of decks.
Yeah. Now this card, like I myself run it in only two decks, and I have 30 or 31 commander decks at this point. The reason I only run it in 2 decks is because it typically commands a price of $4 to $5, and I'm just like, I don't want to drop $4 to $5 right now on a common card unless it's absolutely paired in the deck. So if I'm running Cabal Coffers, it's in there. I've got a deck that runs Sarah Sanctum. It's not in there. I would love it to be in there, but it's not. I've got a ton of decks. Another that's running Emeria. I would like it in that deck. I don't have it. And these are, I'm looking back, I'm like, I can think of probably 4 or 5 decks alone that I want this card in. And that's not including the ones where I just like to mana fix with it.
Sure.
And of course, right now it's currently available, for in bulk, as low as $1.80 on TCG, the Double Masters version. And honestly, I don't see a huge drop from here. We may see a little bit of one with the race to the bottom, but I don't expect it to last, because there is a decent amount of price memory with this common card. So I would keep an eye on it, and if you want these to play, I'd get them right now. If you just want if you want to see if it's something you pick up for an investment, I would watch it. Current market price is $210, and you can get them bulk for $180. So that's already a 30-cent spread there. I think we'll see. Typically,
when these master set releases and these reprints come out, they'll see about a 65 to 70% of their low.
Of their 2-year low.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we're probably going to see, before this starts ticking back up, it'll probably get down to, I don't know, maybe $1.15, $1.20, and at $1.20, it's a
heck of a deal.
Whether you want to invest or not, that's still a great. I mean, if you're paying $1 for a Magic card that you're going to put in a deck, hey, that's a win.
Yeah.
So for sure, I'd wait a couple of weeks on this one. We're going to see some tick down. We're going to see some movement downward, but I mean, it's just in too many decks, and there's too much demand for the card really for that to last. So be looking every other day or so on this one, and when you feel like you want to pull the trigger on it, go ahead and do it. Because even right now at $1.80, I think it's a fine. You can still move on it.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to point out, and we're going to talk about a lot of cards today. Whether you go on and you're grabbing them before the actual release date, actually by the time you see this, it will have already released. Regardless of whether you're going to right away when you watch this go out and buy them, or if you're going to wait a few, I recommend look at the trend over the last couple of days when you watch this video. See if it's ticking up, see if it's ticking down. If it's ticking up, I'd go ahead and pull the trigger if it's something you want and it's still within the dollar values we're giving you. If it's ticking down, hold off. Wait, be patient, but watch it every day and wait for that low. The moment you see it start to tick up or it hits a point where you just think there's no way it could go any lower, that's when you'll want to grab on those. But in investing, it's not I'm going to check every couple weeks or whatever. It's a daily process. You look daily to see where it's at, and you look at the trend of that card. By the time you watch this, the trends often will shift. I usually will try and find when it's held consistent for several days or a week, and that's when I say, okay, it's trending upwards, so it's safe at that point. But that doesn't mean you're going to get it at the best spec price. This trend often likes to get at what he feels is the bottom, and that's a higher risk but also higher reward. So depending on the kind of investor you are, take that approach one way or the other. But regardless, watch these prices in the first couple weeks. You're going to see a crazy roller coaster, and look for that bottom. Jump on it then.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice, Hale. Absolutely.
Now, there's some other commons I know a lot of other content creators and other people have suggested make for a really good investment right now. And I'm actually counter to that. I'm not saying it's not investable, but I'm saying it's a much riskier investment at this point. And that's the Tron lands. Yeah.
There's just, they've been printed so many times. While these do have, new arts.
Only on the full art.
Ones. Yeah. I can't see it.
They're played in 1% of EDH decks. And that's not because people can't easily get them. It's because they're just not that good in EDH.
Yeah.
And really, it's Modern that's driven the price on this. And Modern is not the beast it used to be, especially in the situation we've all been in this lockdown. Tournaments aren't much getting played right now. So it's not a driving factor in card values. And not only that, it was already on the decline after Pioneer came out. So I just don't like looking at Modern as something to move the needle on card values anymore. And I'm not alone in that. I know of a lot of other people for the last year or two have started to look elsewhere, primarily the casuals, aka EDH, for where to park their investment money. That and of course reserve list. So, they may be worth it to spec into, but I wouldn't get them over $1 personally. And then
you can get them under $1. If you can get them for 75 cents, go ahead and get you a play set of each, and add it to an order so you can get free shipping. It's
like don't pay shipping on these.
I'm going to be specking on, but if you want them to have them, you've never had them before. I mean, sure, go ahead. But certainly not anything that's going to make you any money down the road. I don't think.
Now the potential exception to this, but I think you're not going to find a low worth getting out. Might be the full art, the new art ones, but I'm risky of doing anything with any of the box toppers as far as investment at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it, and this is kind of a good segue. I wanted to get to this at some point in this video, but I guess we can do it now. But let's just think about it for a second. You got the VIP booster packs. You get 2 foil box toppers per pack, and right now, I mean, honestly, they're, you can get them for $100 at LGS, but I feel bad. They're going down.
They're going down
for $85.
The market spread, as far as the sellers goes, is terrible. They're buying these on average between $70 and $80, $70 and $78. They might be some might be able to get a little lower on the bulk, but they're not making their average 40% markup.
Right.
WotC was expecting 125 on these.
Yeah, if you take that into consideration, along with the fact that you buy a regular booster box and you get 1 box topper pack with 2 non-foil box toppers in it, and that costs $300. So just based on that math alone, the foils are worth less than the non-foils.
Exactly what I was going to get at. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, so I am not high on the foil versions of any of these box toppers at all right now. And
I'd like to add to that, I'm also not hot in general on foil commons and uncommons, even really good ones, because of the VIP and the fact that there's so many in there. So normally I'd be like, oh, you want to grab those foil Greaves, you want to grab that foil Basalt Monolith, you want to invest on those. I wouldn't do that. They're going to drop down. If you want them to have them, that's different. Because if you want to bling out your deck, totally.
I was going to mention that earlier with Expedition Map. You might actually be better off buying a foil version of the Expedition Map.
It'll drop a lot in price.
It's going to drop a lot. It might be less than the non-foil version of it. I mean, honestly. So
I don't know if it'll go that low, but the difference, the foil multiplier between the non-foil and the foil might be so low that you might just go ahead and grab the foil in the hopes that several years down the line, without borrowing a reprint with foils, it could suddenly be worth more than the regular. But yeah, I'm a little bearish on foils, particularly commons and uncommons in this set. Because of the VIP boosters, there were just too many printed in those slots. Whereas the normal, I don't feel as bad with the collector boosters because you're only seeing like 6 commons and 3 uncommons or 2 uncommons or whatever in these collector boosters. Whereas in this one, you're seeing was like 12 commons and then 8 uncommons or something like that. It's a ridiculous amount, and I'm just like, wow.
Yeah. So I actually, newsflash, actually got my hands on a couple of VIP packs yesterday. And honestly, so I was not going to buy any of them. The owner of the shop kind of he called my bluff. He said, hey, we got VIP packs. They're only $100. And I was like, oh, yeah, great. I was like, I'm not going to get them. The only way I'd get them is if you gave them to me right now. He was like, okay. I was like, ugh.
Right now being a day or two prior, a couple days before release.
Yeah, so
we're not going to throw the store under the bus because let's be honest, they need all the help they can get right now.
But I did pull a showcase Chrome Mox and a showcase Dark Confidant and a showcase Noble Hierarch. The other one was a Meddling Mage. So
nice. That's actually pretty nice. That's pretty nice for 2 boosters. That Chrome Mox alone, I think, is close to the value of
so far online. That actually is probably better than average, I think, for 2. Just 2. I've seen some real stinkers.
Oh God, I've seen that. My fear has been, this is why I won't touch them. It was to get the double uncommon ones. I've watched a lot of openings. I've seen many of those pulling 2 uncommons, like a Fatal Push in a Urza's Power Plant or something. You're just like,
that's such a feel bad.
Yeah,
So that's the worst too, right? Because you can now. So they actually said today. They verified that you can't get 2 mythic showcases in a VIP pack.
Yeah.
But you can get 2 rare uncommon upshifts.
Mm-hmm. You can also get 2 mythics in a normal booster. Yeah. Now they're not obviously the box toppers, but you can pull the 2 mythics out of the slots in the regular booster. I haven't liked the VIPs, what they've done from the get-go. But, enough about the VIPs. Let's talk about some other stuff. Let's talk about some positives here.
We digress. So let's move on to the uncommons then, shall we?
Yes, and there are a bunch of good uncommons. In fact, I don't even think we put all the uncommons that are worth noting in here. We just kind of put the top end in there.
Right. So, we agree on 3 out of the 4 of these. One of them I'm not so high on, I think, but we'll get there.
Okay.
So first one we've got here is Pongify. And, when I saw this was released, I was pretty excited about it because, man, I love Generous Gift. I love Beast Within. And this
rapid
is
hybridization.
It doesn't exile, but it's in blue. It's a blue kill spell.
It's instant.
Fantastic.
And it costs 1.
Yeah, it costs 1.
That's just so good.
It's insane.
And it sees a fair amount of play.
Yeah, and 13,000 decks, 6% of decks it's eligible to be played in. There's only been 2 previous printings, I think in C14 and Planar Chaos.
Yeah, and C14 barely counts even as a printing. It's so small, relatively speaking.
Sure. Typically it's been about $6, $7, $8 on average, and $4 for the past 18 months, year and a half or so. Currently, the earlier versions are $6 to $7 or so on TCG, but this one has a TCG low of $2.11. Now, I don't know about you, but $2.11 for a blue, less expensive, not quite as awesome, but still pretty fantastic, can be played in a mono blue deck. Have to exile or Beast Within or Generous Gift.
Yeah.
Dang, I'm doing it,
Yeah, this one's as close to a no-brainer as it gets, in my opinion. It's an uncommon. Yes, it's going to drop the price of the other 2 versions, but I don't think it's going to make up that $4 difference. I don't think it's going to bring those other 2 versions down to $2. I think they're going to meet in the middle at best, which we're looking at $4, which is a double up on this card in probably 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
A year tops. I really see Pongify as a solid bargain investment right now for Double Masters.
Yeah. And hey, if they don't reprint it in Commander Legends, the ability for them to reprint this in the next 2 years or 3 years even is, very low.
Well, we don't know what their 3-year plan is, but even still, I think they're going to. So this is a weird situation. The only real, in my opinion, variable at the moment, we have one passes into car. Whatever's passes into car is still a variable. But beyond that, I don't think we have many variables because I don't think they have another master set in the works currently. I think they're just waiting to see how this one responds. And from everything I've been seeing and reading about, it looks like they planned this right around War of the Spark. They started development on this, and they looked for cards of value because they wanted this year, as Mark Rosewater said, to be a bang, knock it out of the ballpark for Commander in particular the year of Commander. So they looked at cards that were doing really well in Commander, but also in Modern, because at the time they still thought Modern at that point was going to be a super relevant format. Not to say it's completely out, but it's not as relevant as it once was. And so a lot of the cards they picked, so for example, Vengevine, I hated Vengevine in Ultimate Masters because as a Commander player, I'm like, this card's just, it's bulk in my opinion for Commander.
Sure.
So whenever I pulled one, I was just like, there's a wasted mythic for me. And then when I saw it was being reprinted here, I was like, ugh. And of course, the decks that were using it was Hogak back at that time, which was just dominating the format. And when Hogak got banned, Vengevine went bad. Yeah. And then suddenly the price on it tanked. And there's a lot of examples of this if you look when they were picking. So they were clearly looking at the values of cards during that time frame when building this set. Now, with that in mind, I think they're wanting to see how all the mass reprints of Mystery Boosters, Double Masters, Iconic Masters, Jumpstart, and likely Commander Legends is going to have on the card values to see how much of their reprint equity got used up and how much the market can absorb that. So I think they're going to be putting on the brakes. Just I wouldn't say brakes, but they're going to be a little tenuous, cautious about going crazy reprints next year because they want to see the reaction from this year before. So the planning stage they're doing this year is saying, okay, let's see what the reaction is. That's not to say there won't be good reprints that year. I just don't think we'll see the massive number of them. So that being said, I feel there's quite a few safe specs so long as they're viable long term in EDH, which kind of goes into what we're doing here with this Double Master Special. Yeah. So
Pongfied, and we got another one coming up here, Lightning Greaves.
Oh yeah. This is this one, you know. Even right now at $4, I'm just kind of jumping ahead. This card sees so much play. It is almost as much of a staple as Sol Ring.
Yeah.
Over 122,000 decks in EDH play. 30% of all EDH decks. And I think it'd be more, except the price has kind of been keeping some people from getting their hands on it because it averages $6 despite the numerous printings it's had.
Yeah, I mean, it's printed in almost every Commander set. Printed.
I think they skipped 1 or 2 years, and it outraged Commander players. They were like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I mean, still though, I think we're at $4 or so right now.
Yeah, right now is around $4. As of the time of this recording, that may be up or down by the time you view this. But regardless, I still think picking them around $4 is a bonus because when you look at the other 12 to 15 printings, they all average over $6. A market price of $6, which now, means
is this? If I might be wrong here, but is this the first time it's seen a massive reprint in a master set, or has it just been reprinted in Commander sets? I didn't look.
No. It was originally Mirrodin. It also got a reprint, I believe, in a master set, and I think the majority of others are. Commander, and there might be a dual deck. I don't have them all. There's literally about 15 different versions of reprints. So I don't remember all the specifics on. Normally I write it down, but not when there's this many.
Right.
But I checked all of them, and all their market, they averaged out to a market price of $6. A couple were under $6. I think Commander 2019 was under $6, or Commander 2020 was under $6.
Mm-hmm.
But the bulk of these were all sitting at a market price average of $6.
So it does look like this is going to be the first mass printing since Mirrodin. So
I don't know how mass this will be though. But compared to a Commander, it'll be bigger than that.
Yeah, it'll be bigger than Commander, and ultimately.
Oh, it was also Mystery Boosters, so that actually would be a bigger.
Yeah, so if you combine Mystery Boosters and this together, and apparently there's more Mystery Boosters coming from these shadows. Apparently, I mean, we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see this come down even more than the $4 we're at right now. I think we're gonna see it come down probably. As low as like $2, maybe. Hopefully, it comes down to $2.
And goes to $2. I'm jumping all over that.
I'm going to buy as many as I can.
For starters, I got a lot of decks that need it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It goes in every deck. I mean,
well, there's a couple I haven't put in because my Commander is a Planeswalker. But it still would be good in that deck because there's still creatures in them.
You still got a creature in there that you don't want to be killed, right?
And you want to give haste, and you don't want to pay to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this card's it's literally as much a staple as Sol Ring. Definitely worth picking up.
You gotta follow up a Sol Ring with on turn 1.
Yeah, they didn't reprint signets or talismans in this set, so there you go. You have to have something to follow that up with.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, except in this case, it's Mana Crypt.
Yeah,
drop Mana Crypt and play Lightning Greaves.
Hey. Why not?
But yeah, another great spec. Watch this one. It may drop a little in the first couple of weeks. Pay attention to that. This is one you really want to watch that needle to see which way it's moving. Because I could also just as easily see this card spiking back up pretty quickly if Commander Legends announces and we're not seeing it in that, and people going, okay, well, it's dodged that reprint. That's the one.
That's right. If it dodges that reprint, it's going to spike immediately. I mean, the day that the final spoiler for the uncommons is released, I mean, that thing is going to shoot back up. So, I'm going to be watching it for sure. I'm in at $2. As soon as it hits $2, I'm going to probably drop $20-$30 on Lightning Greaves.
Yeah, that's solid. The next two aren't so solid, which is kind of strange. One of them is one I would normally be really, really high on, but it unfortunately has seen a lot of printings this year alone.
Yeah,
and that's Path to Exile. Mm-hmm. So now this card's played in over 53,000 EDH decks. It's the alternate Swords to Plowshares, exile a creature, single white, instant speed. They get to get a basic land into play untapped. Now, we've talked about this card actually kind of recently on another episode, but we were referring to a new white card from M21 that costs 2, Angelic Exaltation? Ascension. As an alternate to a cheaper version to a Path to Exile. And we even in that commented on giving them a 4/4 Angel and Commander is probably better than giving them their choice of basic land from their deck. But that aside, that's not to downplay the power of Path to Exile. The problem is, even though it's played in 53,000 EDH decks, it's seen a lot of reprints, including this year, Jumpstart and Mystery Boosters. So that's 3 printings we know of already this year, and we still haven't gotten to Commander Legends. And this kind of brings me, I almost brought up with the Lightning Greaves, but this is the better example. As a disconnect in WotC's design department, as they're like stepping on each other's toes with these reprints. And I don't know if that was intentional. I'd like to think it wasn't.
I don't think so. So, I've listened to, I pretty much eat up content as much as you do, Hell, and I'm sure you've heard the same things I have. And people tend to bark at WotC for a lot of things, but you got to realize it's a large company with a lot of moving pieces and a lot of different teams that work on different projects. And I mean, when you got a team over here that's thinking about Jumpstart, you got a team over here that's thinking about Mystery Boosters, and another team over here that's thinking about Double Masters. I mean, they all are players. They all love the game. Or at least they did at one point. And they know that this year is the year of Commander, and they want to add Path to Exile in their set. They want to make it available for the players, because $6 for an uncommon is just, I mean, it's unreasonable, really. I mean, it really is.
Yeah. I want to play devil's advocate here, though.
So yeah, I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm going to play devil's advocate to whether you can or can't blame WotC. So even in the design department, there needs to be, and there is, a head that is getting all the information. So even though these individual isolated silos building these different sets and designing them, they have to report what they intend to reprint to somebody. And this head should be able to see a correlation list of what each group is trying to do and be able to go, this reminds me a lot of another list I looked at, and reminds me a lot of another list I looked at. So I would think that at some point, someone in that position might go, you know what, instead of Path in all 3 of these, let's put Swords to Plowshares in Jumpstart. Let's switch it up with a similar card, but not quite hit on the same one quite as much, which led me to believe there might have been a slight disconnect, or it was an intentional thing, not to piss players off or anything like that, but to literally try and see what the market could handle, and that aside, to get good cards into players' hands cheaply in the secondary market, to try and push that market down to make the game more accessible. And honestly, I really feel that's what they meant by the year of Commander. They don't
look at the secondary market, though. What are you talking about?
That's right. Yeah. So I think they wanted to make the game more accessible this year, and I think it would have worked magnificently if we weren't in a pandemic. If we weren't in a pandemic and people could get out in there and play, they'd be like buying this up. We'd see tons of new Commander players. it's really unfortunate because we're going to feel this probably for several years to come, the repercussions of this year. Now, the question is, on the flip side of that pandemic, is that going to mean that because of the economic recession and the like, that there's going to be less purchased, and therefore that will maintain the price of some of these cards? And this is I'm sure you've all heard it 1,000 times already this year, but we live in interesting times, and it's hard to gauge the waters of where things are going to turn out because this is unprecedented.
Yeah, it is unprecedented. But you know what? In unprecedented times, that's where you can pull yourself up out of the muck, guys. I mean, and let's just not even, get away from Magic for a second. Anything. Think about it in the history. I mean, what came out of the Great Depression? I mean, we got billionaires coming out of the Great Depression because they invented M&Ms. Like, what? So like,
it looks like tech right now is getting the money.
It translates to Magic, secondary markets. I mean, it's the same thing. So, be smart with your dollars. If you have some extra bucks, be smart with them, and man, you can do pretty well here.
Yeah.
Just don't listen to me when it comes to overwhelming forces,
Not necessarily. I still like the card.
Yeah, it's
now,
still a good card.
And the fact that is now the errata, there's a slim. I feel there's an even more slim chance of it ever getting reprinted, even less so now. So I don't know. I still don't think it's a terrible call.
No. But speaking of errata, we have one more.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is really a terrible pick.
Let me add one thing on Path to Exile. Like, the market price is consistently $1 below the median price right now, which is not good, which is a strong indicator this can continue to drop. So even right now you can get bulk for $2.69. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't get this thing over $2 right now. I would keep waiting. It's going to continue to drop for Path to Exile. Keep an eye on it, and if you need it for a deck, pick it up when it's under $2. You won't regret it for that price. But if you're looking to invest, that's a risky one. Yeah. But you were saying now about errata.
Yeah. So for an errata card here, you know what? You should announce this because I don't want any part of this announcement.
Okay.
I'm totally against this one here.
Okay. So this one I'm not, and I'm trying to point out, I'm not saying spec into this, and certainly not the price that it's at, but I'm saying you should watch this card and not entirely discount this card, and that is Oubliette. Now, Oubliette, yes, we know it's the Black Lotus of Pauper that just got reprinted at Lotus Petal prices. Which is still too much to pay for it. It's played in only 118 EDH decks. It currently sits at a market price of $4.46. And it would seem like an obvious skip for EDH staples. At that price, I would agree. However, the change in rules text, in my opinion, makes this card a bit of a powerhouse and a bit of a sleeper in Commander. Because now, not only does it function as a Song of the Dryad, which might have pointed out has 2 printings both from Commander and commands a price of $11.50, or Imprisoned in the Moon, which only commands like a $3 or $4 price, but Oubliette comes without any of the upside of Song of the Dryad and Imprisoned in the Moon, which gives them in essence a land for free. It ramps them. But the thing that I really like about this card is this is black artifact removal and black enchantment removal. What?
Yeah.
Because if it's an aura on a creature or it's an equipment equipped to the creature and you oubliette it, those leave with it. Until they get rid of oubliette, that equipped card is stuck on that phased out creature and they can't put it anywhere else. Mm-hmm. They can't get back that aura in any way. Oh, you have a Rancor? That's great. It's phased out. Hope you got a disenchant, naturalize, or the like. So the fact that black now has, in a roundabout way, a form of artifact and enchantment removal that also serves as commander removal, because a commander removed this way is also phased out and cannot have the replacement effect to put it in the command zone, I really feel this is a much stronger card than people give it credit for.
Sure.
But I don't think it's worth $4.46. It's an uncommon.
No. No, while it is a stronger card than people give it credit for, 446. I mean, what was it before? It was like
$38, but you got to realize that was Arabian Nights. It had one printing, Arabian Nights, very small printing. I loved the art from that, by the way, the original art.
I liken it to, last year we had A25 come out, and we had Imperial Recruiter. Imperial Recruiter was a $200 card, and then it gets reprinted one time in A25, and it was crushed. So I think $15 at its low. Maybe
I don't think it ever hit that low. I think, and it recovered fairly well, because I think before they did this second reprinting, I think it had moved up to 60 or 70. So it had recovered about a third of the way back to its original. I don't expect this. I don't expect Oubliette to. I
did not see that it ever reached that high.
I believe prior to reprint. It hit about 60, 70. I could be wrong. It might have only been 50, but...
Let's see here.
It was 53 before the announcement that was getting reprinted. So not 60, 70, but 50, a little over 50. And as far as Oubliette's concerned, I'm not even seeing, we're talking it was like $38 Arabian Nights. It's not going to hit a quarter of that. It's not going to remain where it's at 446. However, I'm thinking if this thing drops under $2, that's when I may consider picking up some of these, because it's double masters, while a large printing. I don't think it's going to be anything the size of a normal standard set printing. Mm-hmm. So an uncommon in a master set is more equivalent to a rare in a standard set as far as numbers printed at best guess. Right. So with that in mind, I look at it more similar to Imprisoned in the Moon, with potentially a few more upsides, because black doesn't have some of those abilities, and it gives them to them. So I see this in the long term ending up around $3-4. So I wouldn't pick it up at the 446. I wouldn't pick it up at $3. I'd wait till it's under $2 before I'd consider picking it up. For any kind of investment. Even then, I'd try and wait for even lower. I don't know that I would invest heavily in this, but I do think it will see much increased play in the coming months in Commander, because of the errata on that card, making it much more powerful. Yeah.
So Imperial Recruiter hit a low of like $22. It's 21 and some change.
I show like 27, but regardless, that's a mid.
Semantics. But either way, when you start off with a $200 card, it gets crushed that hard. I mean, we're talking like 115% decline in the card value with the new printing. The old printing still commands the money, and Oubliette's old printing will still command the money.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about that big of a swing, Oubliette, the reprint, should really be at like $2.12 or something, around that price
It's
point.
Simply price memory that's keeping it at the $4 right now.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little time, but it will go down.
It will go down, and I don't ever see this card being more than like $2. I just don't. So if you can get it under $2, sure, buy all you one of them. And if you want to play with it, I mean, you're losing $2 if it goes down to $2.
That's where I don't entirely agree with you. If it dodges reprints for a while, it will move back up and probably past the $4 mark. Simply because when you look at the alternative one, and say for example Imperial Recruiter, if he hadn't dodged that reprint, he was on an upward swing, and he was at $53 prior to announcement of reprint, which is a quarter of the price. A quarter of the price at 38 is going to be roughly $10, $9, right? So by comparison, Oubliette, compared to Imperial Recruiter, which was actually Oubliette a smaller print run than Three Kingdoms, Portal Three Kingdoms, technically would imply that this would easily hit back to $10. And I think it probably sees as much play as Imperial Recruiter, or close to. So arguably you could say that this, should hit $9 or $10. I still don't believe that. The difference being one's a mythic, the other's uncommon. And so this is going to need to dodge reprints and the like to hit back to that $4 mark.
That's my biggest hang up, is that it's uncommon. I mean, if it were a rare, then we could talk, but
But I mean, at the same time, I make this argument as it sees more play in Commander. As people start to realize and play it and see the power of how they just screwed over that Tron player and removed 5 pieces of equipment from the game from them, people are going to start going, maybe we should play more of this card. And I think you're going to see that very, very short term beginning to happen. And when that happens, we're going to see that price hike up as people realize the play value of it. But enough about Oubliette. Let's get out of the Oubliette and move on, because that's still not a good spec either way we go about it.
Right.
Let's talk about some rares. Speaking of, we want to talk about rares. Let's talk about some rares. Now, we I think we're pretty much eye and eye on some of these rares here, because there's some good choices here. Why don't you take us with the first one here?
All right. So the first one we got here is, I guess we're just going to go in alphabetical order. Why not?
Yeah, the ABCs here.
So Academy Ruins. Now, we talked about this in a previous episode. I mean, we love this card. We loved all the cards that are similar to this card.
Hall of Heliod's Generosity.
13,000 EDH decks. That's 6% of the decks that can be played in. If you're playing blue and running an artifact theme, this should be in your deck. Period. I mean,
it's not even a question.
To this, like Volrath's Stronghold, it's $70. Hall of Heliod's Generosity, which we're specking on now at $6.48, up 3 weeks ago from $5.73 when we were talking about it. I mean, they hold an average market price of $26 for the previous versions of this card, where it's in Modern Masters or
Time Spiral.
Time Spiral, right? I mean, it's commanded a price as high as $51. You know, now we're not going to see the $51 days anymore on this printing.
Except for maybe those extended art ones, which are alternate arts, which are sweet.
Yes, they are sweet. We do have a chance, though, to let it tick back up from a low price of $10.86. Man, what a steal for this card!
Oh yeah.
Now, I mean, $10.86. If it goes any lower, I don't know how it can. Which it probably will. I mean, but we're talking like.
Well, I mean, there are some. That's the market price is $10.86, but there are some versions out there that bulk on TCG as of when we did this that are as low as $10.
Sure.
I'm like, that's lock in. Let's get it now, right? I mean, it could drop below 10. Heck, it might even go briefly as low as 8, but it is not going to hang there. And I'm not even sure we're going to see that, to be honest with you, because the A, price memory. B, this card is so good. And the only reason I say it might drop down as low as 8 is because Hall of Heliod's Generosity. That came out at like a $3-4 card, and you and I were both like, what is wrong with the world? They just printed money and they're giving it away. And as we see, it's already more than doubled up from where it was a year ago. And I basically expect the same with Academy Ruins. If it drops down to $8, well, it'll be $16 this time next year, minimum.
Right.
This card is too good and too played and too desired and coveted by Magic players to stay low. $10 is a steal of a deal. I wouldn't even wait long after release on this. You might give it a few days and see if there's a trend to get it a couple bucks lower if you're looking to bulk invest. But if you want this card, there's no reason not to pick it up out the gates, because it could very easily swing the other direction. And again, the one big variable I feel we have left is, although I feel this may miss that, but that's just my opinion, and that's Commander Legends. We don't know what reprints may or may not be in there. This is a possibility, but for some reason I don't think they would put this one in there. But again, we've seen some weird decisions this year on reprints in multiple sets. So that's if you're not sure, wait. If it's continuing to trend down, wait till we hear what's come out in Commander Masters. Or Commander Legends, Commander Masters.
We may do a follow up on this one, because we typically have our little segments. We have our hard locks, and we have our calling in the reserves, and we have uncommonly good specs. We're not doing that today because we have so much to cover with Devil Masters. So hopefully, this one though is probably as close to a hard lock in the set as you and I have seen. We didn't even talk about this before we came on and started recording, but this was at the top of my rare list.
Same
and it's also happened to be the first one on yours too. So we're very, very bullish on this card here. And man, I'm gonna open. I've got 2 booster boxes coming. If I don't pull more than 2 or 3, I'm probably gonna end up buying 2 or 3. So
I've got decks that need this card. I lost a bid about 6-8 months ago for a pair of them. I was trying to get them for 23 a piece. I lost the bid. Just to give you an idea, that was like 8 months ago. That was a bidding. I was trying to get them at $23 a piece, and because at the time they're going for 28 or 29. The versions, it was a Time Spiral, but regardless, phenomenal card. I'm ecstatic for the reprint because I need it, but I'm also ecstatic for the investment potential this provides.
Sure. Yeah, me too.
There's another really good one, and this one needs no introduction.
Yeah. We've talked about this so many times.
Rift. I know. This card is played in nearly 93,000 EDH decks. 43% of all eligible decks, that's anything with blue, wants this card. It is the bane of many players. It is the boon of many players. It depends on whether you're the one playing the card or not, as to your opinion on it when it happens. So this card's only had 3 other printings, and that's Return to Ravnica, Commander 2014, and Modern Masters 2017. And it holds an average market price of $30. Now, currently, the staple of EDH is going for a market price of $21.50 in the new Double Masters version. Now, I'll be honest, I was briefly hopeful when, coming into the release or moving into it that we would see this card dip below $18 at release. I'm not so sure that's going to happen now because I've been following and watching the pre-sales on this card, and already it's started to rebound. Like I saw it dip to like just under $20 at one point about a week or so ago on pre-sales. Mm-hmm. And already it's bounced back over $20. And I'm just like, oh, like there's a reason this card sees so much play. It is so good. People want this card. I own 7 of them and it's not enough. It's not enough. I need more. And that's not even for me speccing on it and trying to make money on it. That's just, I need more for decks. And I know I'm not the only one out there that feels the exact same way. This card, it's not going to stay down long. It's not going to stay suppressed. Like if you can come across and get them for under $18, don't hesitate.
Yeah,
get it.
Even at 20, I think right now I'm looking it up as we speak. $19.55 you can get them. There's 8 of them available in the lowest listing. Near mint copies, pre-sale. Man, that's still a good price in my book. Yeah. I don't see this going down much from here. And if it does, it's definitely going to rebound. We're going to see it tick back up to that $25, $30 range easily.
Yeah.
It's just hard not to. I mean,
when you think about it, this reminds me back last week when we talked about Vandal Blast.
Yeah.
This is played in 43% of eligible decks. Now, why do you think it's not in the other 57% of decks?
Because they can't afford it.
The money, the cost.
Yeah.
Like if all those others want, because there's no other reason when you're in blue not to play it outside of I refuse to play the card because I got burned by it once and now I hate the card.
Sure.
Or your play group has personally banned the card because of power level. Understandable. Outside of those 2 reasons, there's no reason not to be playing this card. If you're in blue, if you're even splashing blue, you're 5 color, you're whatever, this card should be in there. If you're looking for a board wipe and you have blue, even if you're 5 color, this is your first choice, hands down.
Yeah, no question.
It's going to continue. You're going to see after this reprint, not so much the price drop, but you're going to see the number of decks it's played in go up. That's my personal prediction here.
Yeah, I think we're going to see probably up to about a 47-50% of eligible decks.
Yeah.
Which just means that there's more demand for it, which means that the price is going to be higher. I mean, I'm all in on this, even today at $19.50. Yeah. I still do think that we're going to see probably a bottom on this. Maybe we already have.
That's my worry. Like I was hopeful we'd see it drop below at least 18 by release. But like I said, these pre-sales, and this is what's interesting, is I feel like there's more pre-sales than used to be in the past year.
Yeah.
Like I think stores are now trying to jump the gun and get ahead of everybody else, so they estimate how many they're going to sell or open and do a pre-sale. And I think they've been burned. They might have got burned on Jumpstart. Who knows? Because they couldn't crack as much as they needed. I don't know how that went. But regardless, so I have a feeling that Race to the Bottom actually isn't at release, but about a week before release.
It's starting to see that way. And two, you got to think about this. These store owners are sitting around at their stores bored to death because they don't have their patrons coming in. They don't have things to do around the shop these days. So we're seeing, I mean, even, some of the YouTubers and content creators we watch who typically don't start posting opening videos until release day.
Or maybe a day or two before. We're seeing like a week ahead.
Box opening.
Yeah.
In the past week. Yeah.
I probably watched 20 or more VIP box openings. So I've probably seen 100, maybe 200 VIP boosters open. I've seen I've seen less booster boxes open. I think I've maybe only seen 15 boxes of Double Masters open. But yeah, they're opening way early this time. That's a good point. So regardless, Cyclonic Rift, you know it, you love it, or you hate it, but you want it, get it. It's a good investment.
Absolutely. So I guess we can move on here. We've got 3 mythics that two of these you and I both had at the very top of our list. The third one I had on my list, but I'm kind of skeptical about it.
Wait, hold on. We still got another rare, don't we?
Oh, do we?
Yeah, That's we got right. One more rare.
We do have one more rare.
This was yours, which I agreed on yours. I was happy you had this one. I stopped because I was like, man, there's a lot on this list. But this was definitely would have been included on mine if I kept going.
Yeah, so Toxic Deluge. I mean, 13% of decks, that's 28,287 decks that could run it. Currently, the Double Masters version is sitting at $14.50, which, before, I think we were seeing this at $29 for the previous versions, maybe even higher than that. I forgot to look that up.
I'm going to find out for you right now. I'm going to just pull up Eternal Masters and some other versions. So I thought it was higher, and yes, it was. It was sitting, the Eternal Masters was sitting at $37 prior to announcement of reprint.
Yeah, okay, so $37. Currently at $14.50. With taking into account the 65 to 70% of the 2-year low in mind, 2 weeks after it's open or released, I think we're going to see this come down to about $9-10, maybe. And based on what we were just talking about, now I'm kind of hedging that a little bit and maybe saying it might only come down to 12. So even at $14.50, if we don't see another reprint, and again, guys, everything we're gonna for the rest of this episode, so I don't have to say it anymore. If it's not reprinted in Commander Legends, we're gonna see upticks in these cards.
Now, I will note, and this is important to note, Toxic Deluge has continued a downward trend. It's currently $17.67 as far as mid and $14.95 on market price. I expect the mid continue to slide to the market price and possibly below, following release. So I think you can probably get in on this around the $14 mark. in bulk by around release. Now, getting down to $9 to $10, that price memory may keep that from falling there, but if it does hit 9 or 10, that is going to be ridiculous. That'll be hands down pickup, because honestly, even at $14, I think it's still going to be good, because if you look at a 2-year, 65% on a 2-year, 2-year low, it's probably not that bad. Oh, we got the wrong version up.
No, it's not. 1450 is still good.
Yeah, it's still it's 2-year low. That would be about $16 at 65%, about $17 actually. So
yeah,
you're still good.
So we're currently at its 2-year low right now. I still think though we could lose a couple more bucks on it. I'm gonna be, if it starts ticking up, I'll be in on it at 15. Because I do think that we're going to come back up to 25, 26 potentially on the top end. I don't think we're going to see 35, 40 anymore, but 25.
I mean, down the road, barring enough reprints, yeah. But this card, I mean, it's a 3-mana board wipe. Yes, it costs you life. I've seen one game, and actually, Trent, it was you who was playing the card, where it was not effective because I think you were down to 6 life or 5 life. And you were like, well, I could do some damage to help the board state here, but I couldn't do enough. And I was like, you got a board wipe. And you're like, kind of. So there are moments when this card isn't going to do the trick for you. But in Commander with 40 life.
For somebody else and you didn't win. So it won.
Was I the villain that game? I can't remember.
You're always the villain.
What?
Yeah.
Well, regardless,
you have 7 copies of Cyclonic Rift, so I mean, who's the villain here?
There's that. But yeah, I got in on those between 9 and 12. So yeah, this card definitely it's worth it at 15. It's worth it at the 1450 it's currently at as of this recording, and it is currently trending down. So you may be able to pick this up, $12. $11 in the coming weeks. Fingers crossed, because that is a steal of a deal even at that price. Sure. I do expect this card could easily be up over 20 again in 12 months to 18 months. Yep, personally, easily. Barring reprint.
Easily.
So we talk about some mythics.
That is officially the last rare. Officially.
Shall we start at the top of a couple of yours you had and then move down to the other ones we shared?
Yeah, that's fine. So
honorable mention first.
Honorable mention here. So I'm not sure what to think about this card. From all the movement I've seen, man, I want to believe that it's a winner. I really want to believe it's a winner because I love the card. Darksteel Forge. And maybe it's just because this card has some sort of
nostalgia for you.
Stay with me that, at the height of my playing back in the day was Darksteel, Mirrodin era. So this card is kind of near and dear to my heart a little bit.
This actually shares a quality with another of our mythic picks we'll get to in a little bit, actually. Yeah.
So, it's only played in 2% of Commander decks. I think it should be higher than that, though, honestly. We're talking, even if you're protecting a Soul Ring or something like that late game.
Well, I think it's primarily should be reserved for artifact decks, because at 9 casting cost, that's a lot to pay for something that's just going to protect a Soul Ring. But by the same token, there's more than 2% of artifact decks out there.
Sure.
Some of them are trying to sack their own stuff, but usually that involves an engine that you don't want to be destroyed. I do feel it is a good card. I run it in one of my artifact decks. I have an Oathbreaker. I don't run it in there. There's no point. I don't need to get to 9 mana in the Oathbreaker. But in my artifact deck for Commander, I definitely run it in there. And it's one I probably paid around the $12 to $15 to get it at the time.
Right.
So, but at the same time, I don't know. I think this one will definitely drop. I do have a little bit of a fear of a reprint of this card in I know this is going to sound weird, but this is the kind of thing I could see just popping into a random standard set without breaking standard kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's the one reason why I didn't necessarily want to put it on my list, because I have the same fear of that. But I mean, even though it's not played in that many decks, the price point on it and it's been reprinted 3 or 4 times, was still pretty good, and every time it's rebounded. So, I don't know what to think here. I think though at $10.50 right now, if it goes down to 8, I'm buying them up. I think it'll get back to 15. But who's to say?
That's why it's honorable mention.
That is why it's honorable mention.
Now, this next one, like Cyclonic Rift, needs no introduction in EDH. And the reason I didn't put it on on my list personally was simply because I thought it just a no-brainer.
Sure.
The card's phenomenal. It is one of my favorite cards in Magic. I'm going to bring it up because it's one of my favorites. Even though you're the one who put it on the list, I will mention it here. That is Doubling Season.
Yep.
I love this card. You hear me talk about it all the time. Last week when we talked about Peer and Tooth, we talked about Doubling Season. We talked about Atraxa. We talked about Doubling Season. I'm the guy with not 1 but 2 Atraxa decks because I love Doubling Season so much. Because yes, it's in both those decks. My first love, Saprolines, Fungus, fun with Fungus and Thalids. When Doubling Season came out, I was like, yes! This is the card to end all cards for my Thallid deck from the Fallen Empire days. And I love it. And this is a card that no matter how many times they reprint it back in Battle Bond, they reprint it in Masters sets, it just keeps coming back. You can't keep this card down. It's just too good. I don't. You didn't even pull stats up on it. I'm curious myself. I'm gonna pull it up, see how many EDH decks it's run in. But I guarantee you, it's not running enough Atraxa decks. It's not running enough counter-related decks all around. It's just one of those must plays if you are doing anything around counters and tokens.
Yeah. So I didn't pull stats up on this one in particular on my write-up because I knew it was going to be high. And it's 9% of decks.
9%, not quite 18,000, which is honestly low. And the only reason it's low is, again, cost.
Yeah.
And again, not surprising, it's running top commanders of Peer, Atraxa, Reese the Redeemed, Namada Grove Guardian, Gave, Guru of Spores, Zexara, which I have it in my Zexara as well. It's run all over the place. This card won't ever get worse in Magic, barring errata or banning. It will only get better as they print more cards that revolve around tokens and counters. And they've shown, just like with Ikoria, they love throwing counters out there and new types of counters that do different types of things. And we see new types of tokens every set that do new types of things. They're just going to keep doing that. It is a staple of Magic, and this card is a staple must-have for any deck that revolves around that, which is a large number of decks in Magic.
Yeah, so if you're able to put a first strike counter on something, why can't it have Doubly Season get double strike?
If only it worked that way. And double haste.
Double haste.
Now this thing's 2-year low on this was $35, and that was the Battle Bond one, I believe. It dropped it down to there, and it rebounded pretty quick, did it not?
It did.
To like $60.
Yeah. I was
insane.
fearful of that when Battle Bond came out. I was like, man, I think I'm going to sell my Doubling Seasons before Battle Bond came out. And I did. And I got them. I think I sold them for like, I don't know, 50 or something like that. Battle Bond came out. They dropped down to 35. And I was like, I am a god. And then I bought some Battle Bond and I opened 2 more. And I was like, cool. I replaced my 2 Doubling Seasons. And then they went back up to 60 again. And I was like, extra cool.
Yeah. And then, this card, I'm like, it's already it's about $42 right now for the Double Masters version.
Yeah.
And I don't expect it to drop much beyond that. I really don't. I don't even think it'll hit 35 this time.
I don't think it'll hit 35. It has an opportunity to hit 35. It has an opportunity to hit 32. I don't think it'll go there. I think we're looking at maybe like 39. 39 is probably going to be the low on here. If, again, we haven't hit it already.
I'm actually going to look and see where it's been trending for the past, because with pre-sales, because, you know, even still, this card's so good. I'm trying to figure out, like, for you all, where, if you're looking investment-wise, where to look or pull the trigger on this. So this card, it's since announced that's coming out. It was sitting at 60. It dropped all the way down to 38. I'm giving you mids at this point. It's easiest to follow. But then jumped up to 49. It's been up, down, 46, 47, 42, 49, and is currently at $40.22 on mid. Since announcement, boom, 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 boom. But it is showing a slight downward trend at the moment. I don't expect that to last. Right now, though, I think if you are, I don't know if you're going to be able to pick up bulk on this, but if you're able to, because it's a pricier card, you may be able to get free shipping and pick this card up for, say, maybe 38 on TCG, 37 with shipping included when you on 1 or 2 copy here, 1 or 2 copy there. And if you can do that, that could be a good deal. Now, yes, there's a potential this could be the final straw that breaks the camel's back, but I don't think that, simply because when we go over to EDH and see the number of decks it's played in is only 9%, and I go down and look at Atraxa and it's in under 50% of Atraxa decks. It's in 54% of Reese the Redeemed decks. It's in 54% of Peer decks. It's in 44% of Gave decks. That tells me the only reason that card's not in there is, again, people couldn't afford it at the time, which means his price, it's not going to stay low there. And Zexar is a new, highly popular commander that just came out, as did Xera's the Rising Storm, both of which who would like Doubling Season in their deck. And Atraxa is getting reprinted here. We're going to see Atraxa, people building Atraxa Super Friends. Literally, friends on Discord today were talking about, I want to build Super Friends. I want to build Super Friends.
Yeah, I'm going to build an Atraxa deck. And again, it's because, when I first bought into Commander, it was actually during the, what was it, C16?
Commander 16, yeah.
When it came out. And I only bought one Commander deck from that set because I was just getting back into Magic again, and
you bought the wrong one, didn't you?
Maybe the only one that was sitting at Walmart on the shelf is.
It wasn't Atraxa and Brea, that's for sure.
Yeah, which was the partner one,
Kyros and
the group hug, whatever. But man, I wish I'd have known. But yeah, I'm gonna buy an Atraxa because right now it's sitting at $10. I mean,
just the regular printing in Double Masters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that one's actually we didn't put it on our list, but that one's actually you could probably speculate on that card. I think it, because of popularity, is going to rebound pretty quickly.
An interesting fact. This is the first non-foil printing of Atraxa.
Yes, that is correct. This is the first non-foil. The first one was foil with the old frame. The second one in Anthology, I have both. The second one in Anthology 2 was foil with the new Legend frame up top. So yeah, I was thinking about the other day. This is the first non-foil.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, sometimes those non-foils can be worth more because they're more rare, essentially.
Yeah.
But regardless, back to Doubling Season, looking at all the decks that I'm not even going to say could, I'm going to say should be running this because they're running a token counter theme. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. People aren't putting in because they don't own it. This is going to get more out there. It's going to drive people to get this card as the price drops, and it's just going to rebound just as quickly because there's not going to be enough in the market to sustain the decks that need it right now. Just looking at the number of commanders that are at like 50% or less that should be running it.
Right. All right, so our next one is Avacyn, Angel of Hope.
This one I'm very high on.
Yeah, I'm very high on this one too. Played in over 13,000 EDH decks. It's 7% of eligible decks. Average market price between other two significant printings, 45 for Avacyn Restored and Iconic Masters. Also a Judge and a Vault version. So hasn't been hugely reprinted since Avacyn Restored. I mean, it was an Iconic Masters, but was under open. Nobody liked the set. And, even still to this day, it's like the cheapest Masters product you can purchase, along with A25. I mean,
yeah, they're kind of neck and neck, and depending on which week you look, as to which is the cheaper.
Iconic Masters, to this day, when I go to one of our local stores over here in Houston, they always have. I mean, I can buy whatever packs I want from there, basically. But I always buy an Iconic Masters pack because they're like $10. I mean, and last time I was over there, I pulled a Thoughtseize out of it. I mean, that's fantastic. Well, I mean, it's being reprinted now, but even so, I mean, it's still a good card. Anyway, back to Avacyn. Current market price for the Double Masters version is $26.65, where you can get it as low as $22.66 for bulk. It has been trending downward steadily. I expect shortly, here in the next week or two, we're probably going to see it about $20. And I think that's going to be as low as it's going to go.
Yeah, I don't expect it to go much lower than that. This card has been so hot the last 3 months, it's jumped up to, just prior to the reprint, jumped up to over $50. And that's because a lot of players are looking at this, not just to be as a commander, to put in the 99. Like the aforementioned Atraxa decks that I have, I run it in my Super Friends deck. Because what's better than a 4/4 flying vigilant death touch lifelink? An indestructible 4/4 flying indestructible death touch lifelink. So yeah, I find this card, and it's one of my favorite tooth and nail targets to go for this and something like Shall I, which just says I got a kind of semi soft hard lock on the board right now. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for Avacyn. And people are...
Did you say it's semi-soft hard lock?
Yeah, as in you've got one target you can get rid of with exile, and if you can't do that, you got nothing. Oh, wait, there's one card, Cyclonic Rift. I'm going to refer
to that from now on. I'm coining the phrase. That's a corn dog lock. You heard it here, folks. Corn dog lock. Oh, sorry.
No, it's good, man. Avacyn, Angel of
Avacyn, I'm totally in on. I'm totally with you on this one. We're gonna see this come back up. We're gonna see it rebound. It's again not gonna get back to 45, at least within the next year.
No, it'll take a little bit.
It'll take some time, at least a year and a half to get back to maybe 35. But it'll definitely get to 35 in the next, 16, 18, 24 months or so.
Yeah.
And after that, if there's no reprints after that, I would expect it to shoot back up to that $45 price pretty easily. Yeah. So
now this next one here, huge fan of this card. It is a much played card. It is, and it kind of shores up one of White's biggest weaknesses, and that is land tax. So White has, I said biggest weakness, actually it kind of has two. It doesn't ramp, and it doesn't have card draw.
So I think that's the art on the original one.
Yes. So this card, while not exactly answering either, sort of answers both. For a single white, you can enchantment that during your upkeep, if another player has more lands in play than you, and you got 3 other in a commander game to choose from, you may search your library for up to 3 basic lands and put them into your hand. If you do, shuffle your library. So this lets you thin your deck, so you're drawing more gas through the game, but it also means you never miss a land drop the entire game, which is a lot of value. But also it allows you to pitch those cards for other purposes throughout the game as you get those lands into play, and you can use them for other purposes. Maybe you're playing landfall, as we'll talk about here in a little bit, or another mechanic that can make use of those lands. Very useful. Now, this card sees play in over 18,000 EDH decks, which is 10% of eligible decks that could run it. Now, the average market price between the other 3 significant English printings of this card is $35. Now, much like the aforementioned doubling season that saw a reprint in Battle Bond as a mythic, this also saw a reprint in Battle Bond, as well as way back in the 4th edition, and as well as an uncommon in Legends. And just like Battle Bond and doubling season in Battle Bond, this card quickly recovered from its printing. I remember hitting at least a low of 17, if not lower, in Battle Bond.
Yeah, and in fact, before we were looking this information up, I didn't know it had rebounded back to 35. It's been sitting in one of my EDH decks. I mean, like, I don't really play very much, but man, $35 before it just got reprinted is pretty good. Yeah,
it basically doubled up from its low. A low that I recall. I didn't look this up. I just have price memory that it was at 17 at one point, way back when Battle Bond was still out and about.
Sure.
In fact, that's the last card I opened from Battle Bond. I opened my last booster Battle Bond. I remember it was like, nice, land tax, cool. And that's when I saw it was 17. And yeah, it's doubled up since then. And the current market price for the Double Masters version is $22.90. And it has copies available, not in bulk, but there are copies available in Double Masters for sale for as low as $20. Mm-hmm. However, nearly all other copies of versions of this card on TCG are getting scarce, which surprised me because there's several other printings, including like 4 and Black Border and some really kind of esoteric printings, if you will. But what surprised me was how few were actually available. I was like, well, this is actually a much needed reprint. I myself didn't realize how much of a needed reprint it was. I thought Battle Bond must have done the trick, but clearly since that had a double up, it didn't do the trick. So I really think anything under, if you can find this for under $20, I do think it is a solid pickup.
Yeah, this is definitely poised to come back, probably more so than any card besides doubling season that we've talked about is poised to come back to that $35 mark. I mean, again, it was reprinted in Battle Bond, and I saw it just with you, $17-18. I put it in the binder, and then eventually I moved it to a deck, and I was like, cool, this is awesome. I haven't had a land tax since 1997, whatever. Never would have thought it would have hit $35. It's kind of cool, that it did.
Yeah. I do want to note
if that's the case, it hit that same $20 threshold in Battle Bond, and it's only been a year since Battle Bond came out, or maybe a year and a half now. But
no, actually, it's been 2 years. It was the summer set in 2018.
Time flies.
It does. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, Battle Bond was just like yesterday. I was like, yesterday was like 2 years ago. Holy crud.
Yeah, right.
Now, the other thing I want to note of interest with this printing of the card, which is really kind of cool, this printing of land tax, is Battle Bond had new art, which I, like you, enjoyed the old art.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was pretty cheesy. Mustachio dude with like a pimp, He was pimping, right? But the new art, I think a lot of players prefer. They see it kind of as more, it's a more modern take on the card and looks a little more like what you might have in mind with taxing the land, maybe, instead of a pimp. Mm-hmm. But regardless, that there's only the Double Masters and Battle Bond are the only printings of that art outside of a Judge promo. So if you prefer that art, there's not as many of those overall as compared to the original artwork, which of course was an uncommon in Legends, which granted is still the best copy you can get in my opinion because it's the original. But it was heavily printed in 4th edition, and 4th edition saw a lot of printings. So I kind of feel players may migrate to the new art potentially, plus to the black border.
I would, so on that regard, I would disagree with you. I've noticed that. So you and I remember a time when we were sharpieing our white borders because they were ugly.
Okay, I only did that
kids
once.
Now, the kids these days, the white border is all the rage. If you can get a white, I saw somebody at a store the other day going through the lands, pulling out white bordered islands.
Okay, for what it's worth, I have a deck that has all revised and unlimited basics in it. And that's my Elf Ball deck, Elf Ball Commander deck, Eldrazi, that is. But part of that's because I fetched so many forests. I was like, it just saves me time because pretty much all the cards that in the deck that are white bordered are basic lands. So I'm able to just go, okay, forest fetch, boom, forest fetch, boom, and just kind of quicker. And I just thought, I'm going to break the norm. But even I typically, don't much like white border.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
But regardless, land tax, white border, black border, whatever, it's a good card, and the Double Masters black bordered version is certainly no exception to that rule. Picking that up at or around 20 or under if you can, it's going to be a definite bargain.
Just kiss.
And this last one, I don't know if you agreed with me on this last one. I personally feel strongly about this one.
This is kind of like Darksteel Forge for me, where I'm not 100% one way or the other. While it's a good EDH staple, it's just been so reprinted to death.
Well, this is where I don't agree. I think a lot of people think it's been reprinted a lot. But when you look at the card in question here is Avenger of Zendikar. Now it's played in nearly, first this number should impress you. It's played in nearly 31,000 EDH decks, 15% of eligible decks.
Yeah.
And it's typically run as a finisher in decks of some of the most popular ranked commanders of all time. Lord Windgrace, the number 7 ranked. Yarick the Desecrated, where I run it, number 10 ranked. I also run in my Muldrotha as another finisher there, which is, of course, the number 1 ranked currently. Tatyova, Benthic Druid, the number 32nd ranked commander of all time. And it has only 4 other, mostly small, printings. It was, of course, in Worldwake, which was its biggest printing. Commander 2013. Commander 2018, which is fairly sizable printing. And Dual Decks Zendikar versus Eldrazi, which is fairly small by comparison to, say, Worldwake.
See, I think the fact I wasn't aware of that. I thought that it was reprinted in a core set, and I think that's where most people.
I thought when I looked it up, I thought the same thing. I was like, well, this saw like a core set printing, and then I looked, and I was like, no, it's really only the second significant reprinting of it. And now this card holds an average price between those previous versions, market price of $12. Now I remember when I was going to build Yarick, I went to buy this. I bought one previously from Muldrotha, and I got it for like $6 because it was 2018 had just come out. But I was like, I was able to get it for $6. And I was like, okay, cool. And then when I went to build Yarick a year later, guess what? He cost me he didn't cost me. He was around $11. I was like, man, I don't want to do that. And I had an unopened. This was probably a bad idea, but I had an additional unopened 2018 Lord of Windgrace. So I just cracked it and pulled the Avenger Zendikar out rather than pay the $11. And now it's sitting at 12. And probably not the best.
You paid 40 for it instead.
Essentially, I paid for it. Well, I already had it. I just decided to crack it because I didn't want to.
Still paid 40.
I still paid 40 for it. Well, I traded my Lord of Windgrace too, and that was my other argument. It was like, well, I want Lord of Windgrace eventually, and Lord of Windgrace did end up in my Corvold deck. because I traded my first Lord Windgrace.
Actually, technically, you paid more because I believe that's the most valuable of those 2018.
Probably because Lord Windgrace is the most popular of the commanders from that, and Avenger of Zendikar was in that deck.
I think the Lord Windgrace deck is probably like $60-$70, if I'm not mistaken, right now.
Could be. Could be.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Probably not the best move.
Maybe you should have bought the $12 Avenger.
Probably. So when I saw this card was coming back, I was like, yes, because I have other decks that would like to run this card, but I don't have any more Lord Windgrace decks to crack open. So now,
who's Mr. Moneybags now?
Yeah. Now currently, this classic EDH finisher is going for a TCG market price of $6.31, which, might I add, was where it was sitting right around the time of 2018's printing. And this is for the new Double Masters version, obviously. And you can get TCG bulk listings as low as $4.95 right now. Now, this is really only the second significant printing of this card. So I really don't think we're going to see it dip too much below that. It's possible, but I would keep an eye on this card in the immediate. And honestly, I think anything below $5 is a good bargain. I think this thing will recover to $9 easily within a year, possibly more. But if you can see this thing go down to like 4 or like 3, it's not going to go bulk. But if you can see this at 4 or 3, get as many as you can. I'm going to just say that plainly. This is one I'm very strong on because you can buy into it cheaply. It is a mythic, so they're not going to be out there in huge numbers compared to some of the commons, uncommons, and even rares of Double Masters. So it's still going to retain its value in the long term even better. And if you see this go to one of those bulk mythic prices around $3, you won't for long. I will be getting them. Better keep an eye on it because I will be. This card, I already have decks that still need it, and this one I do have it. It's just proven itself again and again. Landfall decks love it, and there's one other thing I'd like to point out, and this could be a good thing, this could be a bad thing. We got a set coming out here soon in the fall, or Q4, called our return, if you will, to Zendikar. Now, there's a chance this could show up there. I won't rule that out. They've shown multiple reprintings of the same card in the same year this year on numerous occasions. It could show up there. However, if it doesn't, we could see this matter more with more landfall potentially. And that will just drive the price even further up on this card.
Yeah.
So
speaking of, I don't know if you saw on Reddit the spoiled card from today. For Return to Zendikar.
No, today, no.
It's a land, basically you pay for and put 2 1/1 counters on it, and you have the option of it becoming a 0/0 elemental until the end of turn. And it taps for a colorless.
And it has 2 +1/+1 counters on it, you said? Comes in with 2?
No, it doesn't come in. It has an ability of 4 colorless, and then you can put 2 1/1 counters on it. And you can have the option, you may
then turn
make it become a 0/0 elemental. So you could basically just like pay for, put 2 1/1 counters on it, not animate it, and then keep going and waiting and building up those counters until you eventually want to animate it and swing. Interesting card. We'll see.
Does it tap to add those counters, or is it just funnel 4 in?
No, it doesn't cap. No, it's just
okay. Now that's like, if it was tap, I'd be like, man. But it's just pay 4 into it. So if I have unlimited mana, I can make this thing. Well, we don't have to go unlimited or infinite. We'll just say a million. Swing for the fences.
You can definitely make it.
That I like. Yeah. Very cool.
Hopefully it is a real card. For the most part, I have not seen these spoilers or whatever.
So this was a leaked card, not a spoil.
What's that?
This was a leaked card?
A leaked, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen many leaks in the past 2 or 3 years that were not legitimate. So,
yeah. I did hear that the Angry Jelly Bean is getting white now, which we speculated he would. Not you and I. Well, we probably did, but not on camera. So I heard something, or maybe there was art that was shown for it. I believe there was art, and he's on the cover or something, and it looked like there was white in him, which is where we speculated. He started mono green, then he went green red, then he went green red blue. The what was that? The soggy angry jelly bean.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, I don't know what we're gonna call the new one. The marshmallow fluff soggy angry jelly bean. I don't know.
Marshmallow fluff corn dog.
You guys, do us a favor. If you made it this far in the video, A, kudos. B, comment below with your name for what the blue, white, red, green Omnath should be. So we'd love to hear it. Yeah, the winning one we'll mention. The one we like the best we'll mention in a show. We'll give you guys time. We'll mention it at a show in a few weeks, or when Zendikar spoilers start, or something like that. So yeah,
we'll give you a coupon for half off a corn dog.
Yes,
at Corn Dog Emporium.
A hard soft lock, or what was that? Yeah, a soggy corn dog. I think we've gone too long, man. I think at this point, oh my goodness, guys, I had no idea this is such a long show. We're over an hour and a half. If you made it this far, you are truly indestructible. You don't even need Avacyn. You are indestructible.
You don't need Darksteel Forge either.
No, you don't. We thank you all for watching the show today. Be sure to like, subscribe, give us a name, what you think you should be naming the new Omnath from the upcoming Zendikar set. Let us know what you think of our picks for Double Masters. And Trent, what should they be doing in the meantime?
Keep commanding the market.
That's right. Until next time, we'll be seeing you.